driving through the night trying to keep my eyes open. The generator's busted and the AC's broken. I'm talking to the Lord, hope He helps us get there safe. And we made it to the show, now we're singing to the crowd. We're playing encore and they're screaming real loud. Try to get home early, but I know that ain't the case. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Breakfast in the morning from 7 to 9, but we just can't seem to wake up in time. We grab a cup of coffee and we're off to hit the road. Now we're running on fumes, no time to kill. We got one more show and it's a shitty doorbell. Breaking my back just to make a couple more. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
Hey, everybody, welcome in. Somebody give me a sound check just to make sure my microphone and everything is all configured properly. I think it is. I almost always have it right, but one of these days I'm going to be on a huge rant and somebody's going to finally say, you know, we can't hear you, right? So let's see if we got a sound check in here. Jesse says, not sure if you saw Vicky Ward's interview when she talked about her writing process. She exposes how biased she was before she even arrived. No, I did not see that at all. So that's super interesting. Maybe if you have a link to that, Jesse, if you can give me a link to it, I'll go watch that. It might shed some light on the book review series, as many of you know that I'm doing. So yeah, that's super interesting. Did she basically admit that she was biased, or has it just become obvious listening to her that she's biased? I'm curious about whether she admitted she had bias or whether she just it was just clear. Anyway, so welcome Essie, welcome Kimberly Maud in the house, Dreamcatcher Maud in the house. Thank you so much. Sounds like my volume's working. That's great. She had she said she had a handler from the Moscow Police Department arranged before she even arrived. First thing he is introduced to Chief Fry. How interesting is that? Yeah, I mean, I think there was narrative shaping. There was narrative shaping in the Kohberger case. Let me start out real quick. I'm getting a little ahead of myself by reading comments first. So today is an interesting day for me. I don't have a super scripted show today. Keep in mind, I'm gonna let the comments go for a little bit here so I can get some pre stuff out of the way. As you see on the bottom of the screen today, I have on my mind the passing of Ozzy Osbourne and Michael Jamal Warner. When I was growing up, these two men were fundamental, monumental men in my life that shaped my future as a man in many different ways. Very, very different individuals. As an aside, I want to say, first of all, I understand for some of you, you're thinking, oh, isn't that disgusting of devil's advocates? He's mourning the passing of Ozzy Osbourne, but he doesn't seem to give a shit about the victims and the family for the trial that's coming up. That's not true at all. I care for the victims' families very, very, very much, and that's a whole different animal. Right now, let's focus, however, on the passing of again, two legends of my era. And again, some of you may have mixed feelings about someone like Michael Jamal Warner or Ozzy Osbourne. Let me tell you a little bit, just as a moment to kind of start this show, because it's big on my mind for the moment that I want to share. I grew up, and some of you may know if you've watched some of my behind the scenes content, I grew up raised in a Seventh-day Adventist home. It's kind of a niche religious group. A lot of people don't even know who Seventh-day Adventists are. If they do, they just know a lot of wrong things about them. Interestingly enough, Ozzy Osbourne was raised in a Seventh-day Adventist home. So it was super interesting to me when I was growing up. Of course, I was always told Ozzy Osbourne is basically the epitome of the devil. Stay away from that guy. And being that he raised Seventh-day Adventist, we heard about him all the time. So it was a monumental thing in my life. And of course, his lead band, Black Sabbath, if you know anything about Seventh-day Adventists, you know that Seventh-day Adventists observe the Sabbath, if you will, on Saturday. They don't go to church on Sunday like most people. And so Black Sabbath and him incorporating the word Sabbath, being a Seventh-day Adventist, it was a big deal for me. I grew up basically being taught to hate the man before I even got to understand anything about his music. However, as time goes by and I got into music, and I shamefully became a fan of Motley Crue when I was going to church school and got myself in big trouble for, like, I was like, man, if I ever listen to a band that has like a pentagram on their album cover, that's it, I've gone too far. Anyways, that was just the tip of the iceberg apparently for me, because I had other bands that I said, like Marilyn Manson. Man, if I ever listen to Marilyn Manson, I've gone too far. Ozzy Osbourne was somewhere in the mix. I was never a huge Ozzy fan, but I watched a lot of interviews with the guy. I found him super entertaining. When he did TV stuff, he was super entertaining. And I always had to wonder, all the rumors that you heard about Ozzy Osbourne biting the heads off of bats and all the crazy things that he did back in the day, how much of that was just publicity stunts? You know, how much of it was his real religious beliefs, or how much of it was a publicity stunt to make money and get attention? And so I tend to think it was more publicity stunt and attention getting, and that's what he built his entire career on, as did a lot of people like Kiss and other bands that kind of grew up in that same era. So I just thought that I would share that for a moment with you. And I'm sorry that I don't get to see all the comments in the thing. It's going by very, very fast. But Ozzy Osbourne was a big monumental figure. And it's funny because when somebody sent me the notice today that Ozzy Osbourne had passed, it was like a TikTok. I can't tell you the number of times in the past 5 years that Ozzy Osbourne has died according to TikTok. And all these videos about Ozzy Osbourne has died according to TikTok. When I saw that video, I didn't believe it again until I went to CNN just to check the headlines and see. And sure enough, right on the front page of CNN, Ozzy Osbourne dies at the age of 76. We knew he was very sick. He had problems. And again, I'm not going to say whether he was a great man or not, but he was certainly 100% an influential person in many people's lives. I think people are impacted by the life of Ozzy Osbourne, even if you don't think that you did. Even if you weren't into metal, there's a lot of people who indirectly were affected by things that Ozzy Osbourne went by. Like, for example, lawsuits on whether or not somebody committed suicide because they were listening to an Ozzy Osbourne song, for example. Entire changes in music industry happened because of Black Sabbath and the music of Ozzy Osbourne. And over the years, he's done very, very big things. And so again, I will say I will mourn the passing of Ozzy Osbourne and think about those as well. And in addition, I want to take a moment to talk about Michael Jamal Warner. Theo on the Cosby Show is how a lot of people always got introduced to him. I was a enormous fan of Theo. When I was a young man, I wanted to become a man like Theo. I idolized the guy. I thought he was amazing. And as an actor, I thought he was amazing. And just recently, my wife and I started watching a television show called The Resident, in which Michael Jamal Warner is a major part of that television series. And we are still watching seasons. We're getting caught up. We're still watching past seasons. And it's so surreal after finding that Michael Jamal Warner, Theo from the Cosby Show, passed at the age of 54 in a drowning accident, I believe in Costa Rica. It is so surreal to watch. Like, we watched an episode last night, and both my wife and I were like, I can't believe he's gone. Like, we're literally watching him act, and he's such a fantastic actor. So anyways, it's an emotional thing for me because these guys were monumental in the shaping of me as a human being. So I just wanted to say, for those of you out there who might be wrestling with that, it's my heart and my sympathies are with you. And again, that doesn't mean that I don't have sympathy and I don't have care for the victims and the families that we are watching. There are real people behind these stories, and we should never forget that. But for the moment, I just wanted to take that pause to say the passing of two great men. And again, whether you think they're great or not, that's up for debate. Now let's get down to business a little bit. And so I wanted to recap a little bit of what the week has looked like and what the week looks like ahead, and a little bit of a preview into next week. Last night, many of you saw Birdie Bombshell and I do the live together as we do on Mondays. Many times we do lives together on Mondays. It was an enormous show. It was kind of like a peak record show, I think, for him. If you combined his numbers and my numbers, it was a peak record of people watching that show. We had a lot of fun. We talked about Bryan Kohberger a lot. We talked about Luigi Mangione at the end of that show. A lot of great stuff came out of it. It was, it's unscripted. When Birdie and I go, it's unscripted. We just kind of, we sometimes talk about, hey, do you have any topics to talk about? And it's I might want to talk about, and I give him one sentence. I might want to talk about Bryan Kohberger's trial coming up and how I'm going to the courthouse. And that's it. Okay, let's talk about that. So it's very unscripted. It's very free flowing. People say that Birdie and I have a good chemistry together, and it's strange because his style of his show is quite a bit different than my show, and yet somehow when we come together, it just works. And so thank you so much. A lot of my followers, a lot of my growth comes from Birdie bringing me on and introducing me to a new audience that never would have saw me. So again, much love to Birdie Bombshell and everything he's done for me. The guy's done more than you know. He's created the bumper of my video for me. He's had people make music for me, all free of heart. He's just got a really, really big heart, and that guy is really, really smart. And again, our styles are different but similar. I relate to Birdie. Birdie is like a younger version of me. I was a lot more like Birdie at Birdie's age than I am today. I've been tempered in the steel of time, if you will. And so as I gotten older, I'm being more careful with my words. But I was Birdie at Birdie's age, and it's a great thing watching that happen. So I really, really love that. As you know, I had a video, by the way, you may know, I had a video drop this morning, another chapter of James Patterson, Vicky Ward's book on the Idaho 4. I was not, Jesse. I'm not even watching chat, but I saw you, but you weren't a linebacker. No, I was not. I'll tell you, here's a thing, side tangent. I should have gone into football. To this day, I have really large leg muscles. And when I did running back, and I just went kind of like grid kids back in the day for running back, nobody could bring me down. I would drag 20. I would drag like 20 people on me. I swear, I would drag like 20 people, and I would just keep churning the legs. I have really strong legs, and they couldn't bring me down. And people are like, oh my God, you should be a running back because nobody can freaking tackle you. But I don't know why I didn't stay with it. I did not stay with it, and so I lost my opportunity. Never really big into football. My mom, I think, didn't really want me to play grid kids, and so there you went. And so I maintained the muscles of the legs for my entire life. It seems like it's never gone away. Anyways, there's my side tangent. Not cool like winning a championship or being on a team that's won a national championship or anything like that. Birdie's got some great accomplishments that I would have dreamed to have had. So anyways, new video on the James Patterson series. I'm going to have a new episode coming out of the book Lost Girls, written by Robert Kolker. It's in the same style as the Idaho 4 series. I read chapters of books related to the cases that I'm following. So I'm following the Long Island serial killer / Gilgo Beach murderer, allegedly Rex Heuermann. Let us not forget that my channel focuses on the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And while there's a good chance Rex Heuermann is indeed a serial killer, and there's a good chance, we'll presume his innocence until proven guilty and make sure that the court gets it right and that all of the bodies they attribute to him are indeed his. That's one of the major questions I have. Are all the bodies that they're attributing to him actually his? Will we get all of the bodies that he has? Because there are rumors that Rex Heuermann's body count could be in the hundreds, could be up to 300. We don't know. There's certainly a possibility of that if he is a serial killer and if he's been at it for 30 years, as they say, and if he has traveled the country, there may be bodies in other cities that we're just getting the tip of the iceberg on. And again, a lot of these cases may have been falsely attributed to closed by cold cases and attributed to somebody else when maybe they were Rex's. That's part of the thing that makes us fascinating. People will get attributed to murders they didn't commit, and conversely will not be attributed to murders that they did commit. And so I like to dive into those things and maybe even dig up some of those old cases and say, hey, was this murder where Rex Heuermann was that one of his, or was it somebody else's? It's just it's interesting. I like to get things right, not just get close and get closure. What else can I tell you? So those two book things are coming out. Also next week, Birdie and I have been going live together every Monday for, a couple months now. However, Monday, Birdie has a really, really big guest on. I forgot his name, something Payne. He's a former FBI agent, written a book or two, been on shows and stuff like that. So it's a big thing for Birdie to have this guy on his show. So unfortunately, that individual needed to come in on Monday, which is Birdie and I's regular time. I, of course, had no problem being bumped for a bigger name. So I have no problem with that. So Scott Payne. Thank you, Scott Payne. So I'm going to take Tuesday with Birdie. Now, it actually inadvertently bumped not just me, but bumped Ali Benevento, because Ali Benevento, who's become a friend of mine and a legal expert, 15 years criminal defense attorney, has treated me like a peer. She's been gracious enough to go on with me many times, breaking down legal documents, especially about Luigi Mangione. She was super excited to get into Bryan Kohberger's case and literally told me, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get into the case now. Let's do this. And then Kohberger changed his plea to guilty. And she's like, well, there went that. However, that story is far from over. Ali Benevento is still doing videos now on Bryan Kohberger. She has comments now, even though for some people this thing is over. Ali Benevento has agreed. She knows that I'm going down to Boise, Idaho. In fact, I'm leaving tonight to go down to Boise, Idaho. I intend to be in the courtroom for Bryan Kohberger's sentencing. It's an all-day victim impact statement fest. I'm going to have to, sit through 8 hours plus, maybe 8 hours plus of families going up there and saying the way that they feel about Bryan Kohberger. And that's going to be a very emotional day, but I'm planning on being there in the courtroom. By the way, I'm letting you know with a preview of this video, this is the shirt that I'm going to be wearing in the courtroom, so that if you want to, if you care and you want to be like, the devil's advocates make it into the courtroom, this is the shirt. So if you see somebody wearing a black shirt with white on side, it's pretty easy. I won't have this hat on, I don't think. Last time I was in the courtroom for the sentencing, they made me take my hat off, which was interesting because family members in the audience did have a hat on. At least one family member did. However, they weren't on camera, oddly enough. So maybe it's because I'm on camera. Maybe it's because my logo that day was the devil's advocates and they didn't want that on TV. Or maybe it's the old-fashioned, you don't wear your hat in a courtroom, but we'll give a pass to the families. I don't know. All I know is when I walked in, a federal marshal said, please remove your hat, and I did. So I won't probably have a hat on. But look for this shirt if you want to see if I made it. Last time I was sitting right behind Bill Thompson. If we're in the same courtroom and it has the same layout, I will be behind Bill Thompson again. The reason being is because when they let us in, I was fourth in line. I was only a few people away from the first person that went in, and the first row that was available was right behind Bill Thompson. Now, having said that, there was a lot of families who weren't at the sentencing hearing that will be here. So I don't know if we're going to go to a bigger courtroom to fit all those family members. I don't know if we're going to have only a lot less seats than we had before because families taking it up. I don't know. I won't know until I get down there. So that's another reason why I'm going down there pretty early tonight to stand my ass in line. And I will be in line for I will be standing in line with no bathroom for at least 8 hours, maybe 10 hours. And so during that time, I'm going to change the banner along the bottom of this screen. I want to invite you. Oh, that's not a banner. Oh, I didn't do it as a banner. Did I not do it as a banner? I did it as I didn't do it as a ticker. Hold on. Can I change it to a ticker? Oh, I can't change it to a ticker. All right, well, hold on. I'm going to do this. Add a banner. And I'm going to do it on the fly right now. I thought I was going to do it on the fly. Well, shit. I guess we're just going to pop it up as what I just did a minute ago. I think I'm in a giant cluster. All right. Well, I don't know what I've done, and I was going to show you. That's what I'll put up on the screen, and I'll talk about this for a moment. So, again, I'm going to be standing in line for like 8 to 10 hours. I have a Discord channel. The Discord channel is there. It's not. That doesn't even look like that's not a Discord channel. What a cluster F I am right now. Let me get you the Discord channel. Anyways, the point being, let me do this. Let me say this for now, because this is going completely sideways. I don't know how when I pasted in my thing, I got a YouTube link pasted instead of the link that I wanted to. But I will be on my Discord channel. Ask for help if you want to get into the Discord channel. There's a whole bunch of channels in there. One is going to be called Courthouse Updates, and that's going to be where I'm going to be tweeting, if you will. That's the best way to say it. Short little text messages about what's happening. When I was there, for example, for the sentencing hearing, or the change of plea deal, there was so much stuff to tell you about. When I arrived, for example, there was a member of the public there, and there was a member of AP News right beside me, and there was a member of Fox News right beside me, and there was a member of ABC News right beside me. And as we were there, somebody came up and introduced themselves with Inside Edition. CNN was there, all kinds of places. As people would come up and they would start, a lot of the media knew each other, and so they would come up and be like, "Hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you since so-and-so's trial, and were you in Florida last week?" Everybody knew each other. I was the oddball out, being a member of the public, standing in the same line with the press. That's going to be the same kind of way. But from the courthouse steps, if it happens like it did last time, I will be there. Thank you for Carrie for putting that in there for me. That's amazing. That is one way to get the link. It's also put in there. So in the chat, so you can get it in the chat, or you can type it or write it down from there on the screen. But anyways, a lot of people found that interesting. In fact, I was tweeting, if you will, or giving things on my Discord channel about when the sheriffs showed up, when the federal marshals showed up, when a bomb sniffing dog went through the crowd, checking everybody's bags, when a baby stroller was searched for a gun to make sure somebody wasn't going to bring a gun. I have an attention to detail, so I'll be watching a lot of things, and I'll have nothing else to do but chat with you guys and text in line. So if you want to text with me, take an opportunity to hang out with me for the evening and keep me awake, because I got nothing to do, and it's going to be a long day. In fact, I'm going to do an old man thing, and I'm going to take a nap today before I leave for that trip, because once I get down there, I'm awake all night long, all the way through the trial, and either have to drive back that night or maybe find a place to crash for a few hours before I drive home. So, and I don't know all what I'm going to be able to bring into the courtroom, but I think I'll be able to bring my phone, a battery pack, and maybe some snacks, and that will be important. What I don't know is I can bring in, and there was no porta potty out there last time. Yeah, people keep joking about the Depends thing. Like, there was no porta potty. And I was told specifically, by the way, if nobody is required to keep your place in line. If I step out to go walk down the street to a place that has a public restroom and come back, nobody has to let me back in. They will say, literally, get to the back of the line, unless someone says, no, he was here, we're going to let him back in. Last time we were fortunate enough, somebody had a piece of paper and they just took down people's names as we arrived, and they made a list, and they said, look, we're going to honor their list. If you need to go away and come back, tell me where you are on the list, we'll put you back in order. So, and again, what happened there, just to give you a little heads up of how it operated, the sheriff sheriff's department said, what you guys are doing at that list is fantastic. However, I am not enforcing your list. You are. So if anybody argues with me and says, no, I was at the top of the list, then I will just say, you know what, screw your list. Everybody just get in line, and whoever's at the back is at the back. I'm not going to fight with you guys. So the officers was like, I think it's great that you guys want to do that. And if you guys can police yourself and agree to stay to the list, then great. Do what you need to do. I'm all for that. But I'm just telling you, if somebody comes up and we got drama and somebody lies and said somebody jumped in line or whatever, go to the back of the line. That's going to be the answer, because it's first come, first serve, and I'm not obligated to follow your list. So we have to hope. And yes, there will be line holders there, by the way. I was there with several paid line holders. For example, media whose media presence is too important to sit there all night long, hired a college kid to just sit in line all night long. And her job was to just sit there and warm a butt seat. And they were okay with that as well. If it's a 1-for-1 exchange, you've been sitting here all night long, you want to give up your seat for a reporter to come in at the last minute because they are too special to sit in line and they're too important and they need their sleep, then great. They can come in literally 10 minutes before court and say, thanks for holding my spot all night long. Hope you got paid your $20. Have a nice day. I'm too important to stand here in line. So I, however, am not that important or that rich to pay for a line sitter. So my ass will be sitting right in line. All right. So, I think I've given you a lot of everything that I wanted to give you. I want to tell you one more thing, and then we're going to do the rest of this show, because again, this is just kind of an off-the-cuff show today. I don't have a scripted plan. I'm going to do the rest of this kind of just questions and answers from the audience. So I will start paying more attention, maybe even scroll back up if I need to, but I would rather start watching from here on out. But let me tell you one more thing, and this is a little sketchy because some of you have really gotten on my case about the fact that I have paid membership levels on my account. And so I will put that up for a second, taking the risk of getting my ass beat again. For example, my entry-level membership is $2.99 for members-only content. Some people have said it's disgusting, Devil's Advocates, that you have member-only content. You're a tiny channel. Nobody gives a shit about a 5,000 member channel. You're so arrogant to think anybody wants content for members only. This is the reason why you'll never grow as a channel. This is the kind of shit I hear from a lot of people, that they're disgusted that I have membership tiers. I thought $3 wasn't that bad for members only content. And there is a $9.99 level and a $14.99 level. The point that I want to bring up about it is, now that my memberships are really growing, again, according to this person, my account's never going to grow because I have memberships, and therefore people are going to see what an arrogant ass I am for even suggesting it. But if you do pay for content, I am working. I just noticed today that I'm getting more and more top tier at the highest level and mid tier memberships. 90% of everything I offer for members only is at the $2.99 level, but I need to make sure that the people who paid the extra to support this channel are getting their value. And so I'm really, really going to be focused on making sure that those who paid for memberships are getting a value for their money. Last thing I want to say about money issue is merchandising. I was surprised in my Discord channel to see that there was a number of people who I don't think were shining me on who said, oh my God, do you have like a t-shirt or a hat or a hoodie or whatever that I can buy with Devil's Advocate merch? And I'm like, here's what I said. I'm like, well, people told me I'm an asshole for even having membership. What an arrogant prick I am to think anybody would want Devil's Advocates merchandise. But I had several people saying, you know what, if you had a hoodie or a sweater or a hat, I'd probably wear it because I like your channel and I want to advertise it. So I'm going to be designing for myself some silk screened hoodies, hats, or whatever that have my brand. So when I'm out and about, I can advertise myself. And then I'll share that with people in the members only area. And if you like it, then, I'll tell you how you can get one for yourself. And obviously I'd be more than flattered that people like the show so much that they're willing to run the risk of putting out there a little tiny channel that nobody knows about and wear my merch. So I will try to get that as well. Okay, enough of that. Where can we buy your book? So let me tell you about my book. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my book. I always wanted to be a writer, and I always wanted to write fiction. And in fact, somebody recently in my members only area is inspiring me to write fiction. I started this is a long tangent, but what else do we have to do? I'll try to watch the comments here as well. Anyways, I do have some nonfiction books. I wrote a book about I told you before that I was a Seventh-day Adventist. I wrote a book about my, what I would call deconstructing Christianity. It was my coming out of the Adventist church. One of those issues was about a central figure in Christianity that I've studied the Bible. I'm like Mr. Endo in Lethal Weapon. That shows my age. If you know the movie Lethal Weapon, there was a line by Gary Busey where Mel Gibson is being tortured, suspended and shocked. And they said, and Mr. Endo was the one that was torturing him. And he said, Mr. Endo has forgotten more about dispensing pain than you and I will ever know. And that's how I feel about myself about biblical issues. I have forgotten more about the Bible than a lot of people will ever know about the religion that they continue to follow. So that's where I feel. I'm a Mr. Endo. I've forgotten more about what I know than some people will ever know about the religion that they actually practice. Point being is that I wrote a book about that experience in a very particular niche thing. Wouldn't recommend it if you're a Christian because it'll just be offensive. Wouldn't recommend it if you're a non-Christian because you don't give a shit. It's a very, very niche. You would have to be somebody coming out of that system to enjoy that book. But it is on Amazon. It's called Pollyanity, by the way. It's written by Lee Farrell. That's my name. I'm on Amazon. You can find my books. I got one other book, and let me warn you about the other book. The other book was a blog that I kept. I started writing for therapeutic reasons for my friends on a private Facebook group. It became so intriguing to my friends that they're like, oh my God, this should be a book. I shared a working title with a friend and they were like, I would totally buy that book. And so I went ahead and published my memoir, originally written as a series of blogs. And it is raunchy. It is, you think I dropped some F-bombs on the show. That thing is raunchy. And it talks about kinks. It talks about things that Amazon doesn't want me to advertise. I will say real briefly, I'm going really long. Again, Lee Farrell, by the way, I'm putting my name out there for everybody. Now you're going to come assassinate my ass because I'm not hard to find. My book is called Deconstructing Me. That's a retitled name because Amazon didn't like my original title. It was something to the effect of, I don't remember what I called it. Never mind. My original title they didn't like, so I called it Deconstructing Me. But it's basically, again, a little bit about my journey through life and struggles with philosophy, spirituality, and those kind of things. And it is really, really filthy, very blunt, but it's how I became who I am today, including a preview of how I got into this. And here's the thing with Amazon. I'm allowed to sell that book on Amazon, Deconstructing Me. I'm allowed to sell it, but I'm not allowed to advertise it. Amazon will not allow me to put money behind advertising my own book. So it sits there with no sales because I can't tell anybody it exists. So if you don't come across it by accident. Now, here's the last thing about the book, and then I'll get off this and get into questions again. If you're a paid member of Demons Level or Devils Level, and I know from religious thing, you're like, oh my God, I can't get with you. If you're a Christian, you're like, I can't get with it. Keep in mind, devil's advocates is a term. I play devil's advocates. When people believe that a certain thing happened a certain way, I said, well, that's great. Maybe it did happen that way, but let me play devil's advocates. That's what the devil's advocates term comes from. However, I have a long story. My name being Lee, by the way, I'm going to tell you a lot of weird shit today. My name being Lee, my best friend for the longest time called me Lucifer. That was my nickname, Lucifer. And so it was a big joke because I had a little bit of a, I guess, evil streak in me or something, I don't know. And so he would jokingly call me Lucifer. It stuck. And so I used to have a blog, Lucifer, Prince of Dorkness. And so the whole devil's thing kind of went hand in hand, playing devil's advocates with the position, but also developing a little kind of moniker of a little tiny imp. And that's where we got imp level memberships, demon level memberships, and devil's level memberships, just because I wanted to keep that theme. And then I found that some people, unfortunately, they're like, hey, I'm a Christian. I like your content, but I cannot support a channel where I would have it be called an imp or a devil or a demon. And I get it. That's a risk I had to take for my own personal marketing thing. I feel differently about it than everyone else. All right. What else? Oh yeah, I was going to tell you, for Demons and Devils Levels members, you get a free copy of that book. So I think on Amazon, that book, I think is $10. I think the Pollyanity book is like $5. And the Pollyanity book is very small, but the other book is very large and meat. But anyways, those book, either one of those books are available for you for free. If you sign up past the entry level thing, you can get a free copy of the book. Nobody's taking me up on it, by the way. I warn people all the time. Hey, you're a higher level member. You can get a copy of that book, but I'm telling you, it's going to curl your hair and you're not going to necessarily like everything you hear. And nobody's asked for a copy of the book. But if you want a copy of the book, that's one way to get it, or you could buy it if you'd like. And if you do, please let me know. Because I have found that people who do read it said that they were fascinated by the Deconstructing Me book. So give it a shot if you're willing. If not, trust me, you might. I think I say at the beginning of the book, you're probably not going to want to know me this well. You're going to know me way better than you probably ever wanted to know me. All right, what do we got for questions? Robin the Redneck would love a copy of my I will give you a copy, Robin. I'll take care of that later. And again, that's a biography, so it's not like my fiction stuff that I'm trying to work on. And just kind of I write a lot of fiction. Telling you too much about me. The fiction I write, I couldn't share. Let's just say that the fiction that I write all the time. But the fiction I write, not for public consumption. We'll just leave it at that. All right. Anything else? I'm looking to see if I can see new comments or old comments. I need an old priest or a young priest, and a young priest. What's that a line from? Austin Powers making fun of The Exorcist. All right. All right. I'm looking for new comments. I scrolled back quite a way. I didn't find. Do you think that DOJ will look into the Kohberger case? No, I do not. I do not feel that the DOJ will weigh in on the Kohberger case. I do know that, again, Trump made a comment about Kohberger, and one of the comments he made was, we really know nothing. Hitler should have made Bryan Kohberger tell us something. We know nothing. I think that's a hint that even the president of the United States realizes that America is upset that we don't really know what happened, that after 2.5 years, we're going to be left with, yeah, I did it, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it, and we don't know. We don't know anything. In fact, there are a lot of people who don't believe Bryan Kohberger did it, and he took a plea deal simply to save his life. But I don't think the DOJ is going to get themselves involved with that. I did hear this before, that I should have a Substack. I thought about it. I love to write. I'm a prolific writer, I think. But I never thought, it's funny, not only do I love to write, but I thought I sucked at oration. And yet here I am doing oration on YouTube, and people tell me I don't suck at it. So now I'm changing my mind. I'm like, it's a lot easier to rant than it is to write. Because when I write, I find myself correcting myself and editing myself and getting it just right. And while I love the process of writing, and it's very cathartic for me, it's much more time consuming than jumping on a live with some show notes and just doing a big rant. So I'll give it some shot. The Substack is interesting to me. I love writing, so the Substack is definitely interesting. But again, people have told me, you're a tiny channel. You arrogant prick. Now you think you want a Substack channel as well? Nobody gives a shit what you have to say. Anyways, that's in my head. It lives rent free thanks to my life experiences. Anyways, what else do we have here? Do you think that BK will take his plea back? I do not believe Bryan Kohberger will take his plea back. And if he did, I think it would be a bad move for him, because that presumes then he wants to go to trial. And now he's just wasted everybody's time bringing in families from all over the country or wherever they happen to be there at the sentencing, only to hear him say, nah, you know what? I changed my mind. It would make people hate him even more. He already has a problem with everybody hating him. They would hate him even more. So I don't think it's a good optic move unless it's just a necessity. But I don't suspect that he'll do that. That's my take. Do you think there'll be extra security? Again, here's a question. Do you think there'll be extra security tomorrow? And how do you think the atmosphere in court will be tomorrow? 100% there will be extra security. When I was there, let me tell you, the sheriff's department had about 4 or 5 officers outside the courtroom towards the start of the thing. When we got in, the entire courthouse was filled with a whole bunch of federal marshals on the ground floor, as well on the 4th floor where Bryan Kohberger was at. They kept us segregated and put off on the side of a wall. Federal marshals formed a human wall between us and the courtroom down the hall, so that we couldn't even see some of the people who were arriving to the courtroom ahead of us. That was just for the plea deal. I believe it'll be bigger now, because there is a likelihood that somebody will come in and want to exact justice on Bryan Kohberger in the courtroom. I will not be terribly surprised if somebody does jump the bar and try to choke out Bryan Kohberger, despite the fact that there will be lots and lots of officers. I suspect that something could happen on the courtroom steps as well. Now, the problem with the courtroom steps scenario is, who is going to be out there for them to attack? It's not going to be Kohberger, because he's going to be taken out the back door. It's not going to be Ann Taylor, because she's going to be taken out the back door. Let's hope to God it's not some little. This is where I'm thankful I'm a little tiny YouTuber. As somebody said, you arrogant prick. Nobody's going to shoot you on the courtroom steps because you defended Bryan Kohberger. Nobody gives a shit who you are. You're little. You're tiny. Quit getting an ego, you piece of shit. I hope they're fucking right about that because I really don't want to get shot. But there's a part of me that's like, man, if anybody recognizes there's that asshole devil's advocate, he thinks Kohberger didn't do it, which is not a complete characterization of how I've done this. I just presume Bryan Kohberger's innocence until proven guilty. And I've said that when he changed his plea, it changed things. It changed how we word it. It changed, but there's still a question. People do actually admit to things that they didn't do. It happens all the time. So the question is, we'd like to know the details so we can put this thing to bed, so we can stop wondering, did he just take a plea deal to save his ass, or is it legit? We still want some questions. We still have some questions, and we still want some answers. And that's right from the family themselves. We've watched multiple interviews. We don't know what happened. I don't even want to get up. Olivia, we just watched Olivia last night on Birdie's Live say, I don't want to get up there and read a victim impact statement when I don't know what happened to Kaylee. I don't know exactly what happened to her, what he did or didn't do. I'm not even 100% sure. She almost said this. I'm not even 100% sure Bryan Kohberger did it or did it alone because we don't have any facts. And for me to get up there, and again, I'm reading between the lines, I'm going to look like a jackass if you make me get up there and tell Bryan Kohberger what a piece of shit he is for what he did, and then we find out later on when more information comes out that's not what happened. And then I look like an idiot because I chewed his ass about something, and that's not how it happened or whatever. The families are upset because they don't know what to say. They don't know what to say. When they give their victim impact statements, they can't even make it accurate because they don't know what happened. They still haven't been told what happened. Blows my mind that this is what we're going into. Okay, I'm looking for some questions just to see what we got. What are we looking for time? Oh, we got about 20 minutes or so. Any last minute comments? Remember, I follow 3 cases. We did talk a lot about Luigi Mangione last night. We talked about Rex Heuermann recently with Pete Altieri. By the way, as a little sneak peek, I have a little surprise for you. Pete Altieri and I are going to do a show again. We're going to focus a lot on LISK, the Long Island serial killer. But Pete Altieri and I have a little surprise. You would need to catch the very, very beginning. I'm just going to tell you that. You're going to need to catch the very, very beginning of Murder, Metal, Mayhem, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time if you want to see our surprise. It's going to happen quick. It's going to happen at the beginning. You have to be there right at the beginning. So if you want to see the surprise Pete Altieri and I have lined up, make sure you check into Thursday night's show, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for that little surprise. By the way, you will get a chance to see that surprise on future shows at the beginning of a show. Again, that should tell you all you need to know, but I'm going to leave it at that. If you want to see the surprise, you're going to have to be at the very, very beginning of Murder, Metal, and Mayhem's show. All right, so there we go. John Benet Ramsey case. I know this is one of your hot tickets. It's so funny. I've told you before. I haven't delved into John Benet Ramsey for it feels has it been 30 years? It has to have been 30 years, right? So for me, it's I'm wow, people are still talking about John Benet Ramsey. It is a great case. I might start looking back into it. I know it's super important to you, and you're a rabid fan of the channel. You've really supported me, so now you've piqued my interest. You've got my curiosity. So anyway, yeah, I might be peeking into that and getting engaged more in those conversations because I did watch it a lot back in the day. That was before I was a true crime channel, so it was just more an armchair fascination. Somebody says here, I found you randomly. I love your show. I'm a Christian, but I just block out the bad words. I'm a believer that Bryan is innocent and have been from day one. In my opinion, some fishy cover up there are here. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much. I can't say how much I appreciate the fact that you are willing to pocket some bad language and stuff like that because the content is good. It means a million to me that despite the fact that you would prefer not to hear swearing, and I can't help myself, I will draw when I'm passionate, especially when I'm passionate, I let it fly sometimes. I used to apologize every single time I dropped an F-bomb. I was later told by people, just be you. And by the way, as an aside, this is a journey for me. It's a journey for me to just be me because a lot of times people tell me, your show would be a lot better if you would stop saying the F-bomb. And then 2 seconds later, I'll be like, by the way, I love it when you get so passionate about stuff, you drop an F-bomb every 2 seconds. I realize it is impossible to please both people. So the way I've rationalized this, and I've gotten advice from great, great people, is just be you and your audience will find you. So again, thank you for sticking with that, and I hope that you will continue to be able to get past some of my vulgarity. I am a vulgar person. I grew up massive Christian. Again, I know where you're coming from. But I'm a vulgar person. I've always been a man of unclean lips, as Isaiah would say from the Bible. I'm a man of unclean lips. So that's me. But anyways, so there we go. What else? Devil's Mayhem. We're talking about that. Alex Murdaugh's got some new evidence. That's an interesting case as well. I might check that out. John Bonet was huge on Discord. Oh yeah, in my Discord, yeah, we had you guys had like an 8-hour discussion about John Bonet Ramsey. It was amazing, and I didn't get to watch that because I was traveling, and so I just got to drip drop Crime Circus. Anyways, I got to dip in and out of that conversation. Let's see. Looking for comments here. Have you wrote a book, I'll Fart on Your Dreams? No, that would be a clever title. I'm not sure anybody would buy it. But by the way, like I said, I've had an individual or two. I've had several individuals. I shared on Murder Metal Mayhem one of the creepiest dreams I've ever had, my most creepy dream I've ever had. And several people said, holy crap, that would make an interesting book. And I thought to myself, there's not really a book there, but as a scene of a book, yes. And actually, maybe even as close to the end of a book, I could see that. And so I've been persuaded by some to kind of stretch the writing fingers a little bit and think about it. So I have started, by the way, just this morning, I had a conversation with somebody in this room. They can identify themselves if they want or not. But I had a discussion this morning where somebody convinced me to, write down, at a minimum, write down that dream. Write it out in detail as much as you can remember that dream. And so I've done that, and I started to write it back out. I've spent a little time with pen and paper, and it felt good to write some fiction again. So thanks for inspiring me to do that. Somebody says, the families have to know more about what happened than we do, right? How could they not be told? Will they find out after the sentencing how the gag order lifted? Pamela, that's the problem. That is the very, very problem. Steve Gonsalves, I think I figured out what had happened. Steve Gonsalves has been saying for years, indicating for years that he knows what happened. And now that we're going to trial, he's saying, I have a problem. My daughters can't write a victim impact statement because we still don't know what happened. And I thought to myself, how can these two things be true? You don't know what happened, and yet you tell us you know what happened. And here's the answer to that enigma, as I understand it. Somebody inside law enforcement and I think the FBI and local law enforcement and probably the prosecution team has befriended the Gonsalves and has told them things about the case behind the scenes. But it's all hearsay. It's their word. That's it. Hey, trust us, Steve. You're going to see all this stuff come out in documents. Trust us. Here's what happened. And that's why Steve would say, wait till you see what happens in court. I've been told, he didn't say this, I've been told behind the scenes, all this shit's going to come out in trial and you're going to see. Trust me, I've been told, I know what happened. And now that that's not going to happen because no trial is going to happen, Steve's like, then how do I know anything you've told me for 2.5 years is true? Now I don't know shit. And I never will know shit. And you told me to trust you for 2.5 years. Now I'm a jackass because I don't know what happened. I was waiting for the trial to find out what happened. That's my take. That's my take about how we reconcile Steve Gonsalves' attitude during this entire 2.5 years. All right, well, we're looking for some last minute comments. We got about 12 minutes tops, maybe. Ooh, Delphi trial notes, transcripts are available now. That would be interesting. I'm looking through the comments, looking for something to do. Proud Parent says, DA, I like your honesty and truth. I like you digging for the truth. Keep up the great work. You're appreciated. God bless. And yes, I have been so blessed. Let me say this without making, I'm hoping this will not come across as an arrogant prick, like some people are more important than other human beings. So please hear me carefully when I say this. One of the things I've been so blessed about, and it's been humbling to me, because I've been told for the majority of my life that nobody gives a shit what you have to say. Nobody cares what you think. And yet when you guys keep telling me, oh my gosh, I want to hear what your thoughts are on this, I'm like, wait a minute, I thought nobody cared what I had to think. I have to get out of brainwashing for a long time that nobody cares what you have to think. But one of the biggest things, and again, it's not a disparaging thing, I hope that you who aren't in this line of work do not take offense to what I'm saying. But one of the most humbling and amazing things for my psyche and my healing was realizing that early on, very, very early on, I had an attorney who watched my TikToks. And that attorney reached out to me privately and said, oh my God, you're my favorite TikToker. I feel honored to be talking to you. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to say. I'm breaking down legal documents and you're an attorney. And they said to me, you should have been an attorney. You know law very, very well. In fact, you have taught me things about the law as I watch your show. And then later on, I had another attorney who was like, oh my God, I love your show. And I'm a criminal defense attorney for 15 years. And they have befriended me. And then I've had police officers, multiple police officers, Pennsylvania police officers, New York police officers from all over the country who say, oh my God, I love your show. Like, I thought, for example, that even as a police officer, it's illegal to present false identification to a police officer, but then I find out the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania treats things differently. That's news to me. As a police officer, I would arrest somebody for providing false identification. However, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has a little wrinkle, and you taught me that. Like, I'm so flattered that I have people who are in the business of law and law enforcement who understand that even when I'm critical of law enforcement, they're like, yeah, you're critical of law enforcement for a reason. There are problems in law enforcement. And here's the thing. Good cops don't like bad cops either. They're human beings. That's something that we forget. But anyways, I've been so blessed when I was in a Discord channel and I had multiple officers and attorneys saying, yeah, I'm an attorney. Yeah, I'm a police officer. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, why the hell are you watching my show? Like, I thought nobody gave a shit what I had to say. Why are you watching my show? So it was humbling and a big confidence booster that I'm doing something right. So thank you so much for that. And it doesn't mean that anybody who isn't in law enforcement or legal profession, that I don't appreciate your comments and your compliments just as much. It's just one of those sobering things of like, wow, like I thought, people in law would tell me to pack sand, but not so. So, do you think that DM writes a book? Dylan Mortensen? I don't think so, but this is America. So who knows? Do I think Dylan Mortensen will be there again? Probably. I mean, I didn't expect her to be there for the sentencing, so I don't know. If anyone's interested in what the scene at 1122 looks like and the evidence the perp typically leaves behind at a multiple unaliving, check out the Napa Halloween murders. Cool, Witchy. I might have to check that out later. Got somebody who's in here who's a fan of the case of Luigi Mangione. Thank you very much. That case is I get some of my biggest rants where I damn near have an aneurysm, or when I'm talking about the civil liberty violations of Luigi Mangione, regardless of whether or not he was the shooter of Bryan Thompson, which still remains to be seen. He has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. They have violated Luigi Mangione's constitutional rights at least 4 times, clearly, without question. And then it leads to the question, if they're going to do that to somebody where the entire nation is watching, how often do they do that to the little guy? So it's a scary, sobering thought. And I will continue to hammer that home to say, I don't care how you feel about Luigi Mangione. If the entire nation is watching Luigi Mangione's trial and they're willing to break his constitutional rights over and over again, you should be freaking terrified. You should be terrified. Oh, Brian Enton said today that the families have met with and learned more of the details, so to be ready tomorrow. That's interesting. That is interesting. Did you know that Mangione had 286 posts in his social media before his arrest? Yes. Birdie and I talked about that at length yesterday. I had a user in my group give me a 286 reference. 286, by the way, is an Easter egg that I said that I feel like the shooter of Bryan Thompson left us Easter eggs, one of which is 286. Luigi Mangione had X account, formerly Twitter, right? He had an X account in which the picture of Breloom, it's a Pokemon. Every Pokemon has a number. The Pokemon number of Breloom is 286. The last post made by Luigi Mangione on that social media account was 286. By the way, as a telling you about how things get manipulated, somebody later on deleted a post or added a post to make the number off from 286, and now are trying to shame everybody who are spreading the false rumor that I had 286. I'm sorry, people. Screenshots were taken all over the place. It was vetted by multiple places. Multiple major news sources like Newsweek confirmed it. But somebody later on got a hold of the account and deleted or added a post so the number wasn't exactly 286, and now is trying to reshape the narrative and say, you're all wrong. It was never 286. You guys are a bunch of idiots jumping at conclusions. The new 286, by the way, reference, the new 286, if you didn't catch Birdie's live, is that Brian Thompson was shot on December 4th, 2024. And the next court appearance that's coming up for Luigi Mangione is September 16th, 2025. The exact number of days between the day of the shooting and his next court appearance, 286. Some people say not a coincidence. There's a lot of 286s. Luigi Mangione was arrested 286 miles from the shooting scene. Not a coincidence. Some people believe that somebody's laying Easter eggs. Now, again, to get to the 286 miles from the shooting scene, you have to go a very specific route. The most direct route is like 270 miles, but 286 is a route that you can take to get there, and it lays out on a map. So the question becomes, are these Easter eggs being put out there for a reason? It's an interesting story if you're not paying attention. Even more so is the story as at its heart, in my opinion, as at its heart, a story of class warfare and abuses and capitalism in America, and how bad our system has gotten that somebody decided that the only way to try to make a change in American healthcare system, which is out of control and rampant, the most expensive healthcare system in the entire world, and yet not the best healthcare in the entire world, that the only way to solve that kind of problem was to kill somebody. And so what did we do wrong in this country that became a solution for somebody? And I say somebody because we don't know that it was Luigi Mangione. That's allegedly Luigi Mangione. That story is far from over. It's going to be a huge constitutional fight. It's going to be a huge case of justifiable homicide if the person was doing it to save lives. There's a whole bunch of shit there that is beyond just a simple news story of some asshole killed some guy for no reason other than making his shareholders money. So you might want to get into that if you haven't yet. Let me see if there's any last minute comments. We got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Thank you. I get a lot of these comments. You're an amazing human being. Thank you. That's just one I highlighted. I saw a lot of comments. You guys are really, really helping me out. I really had to shape my negative talk. I had a lot. And again, my biography that we talked about, my biography talks about how I got that negative view of myself. I had a very negative view of myself. I'm trying to work through that. And as I work through it, I have to work through it while constantly remind myself not to become an arrogant prick. So somewhere there's that line. Being confident enough to say what I have to say without feeling like nobody gives a shit what you have to say, but not arrogant enough to think that everybody should be listening to what I have to say. So I have to try to find that balance. It's something I struggle with. It's harder than you think. And it's something I struggle with on a daily basis. Yeah, and Dreamcatcher, thank you so much. Lee, I'm a fairly new member of your channel, and from the get-go, I really loved your style. You're one of my favorite channels, and you're a great guy. Don't let the bastards get you down. Thank you so much. By the way, for a moment in time, I changed the title of my YouTube channel to DA Rants, because so many of you said, I come here for the rants. And I'm like, well, and again, I don't want to force anything. If I go on a rant, I assure you that rant is 100% from the heart. I don't fake rants to get hits. I don't fake rants because I think that it'll blow up a video and make it viral. If I rant, it's because I got pissed off about something and I went on a tangent and I start talking faster and I start dropping a lot more F-bombs. Sorry to the Christians who were offended by the language. That's it. I rant. And some of you say, oh my God, I come here for the rants, which does put pressure on you to rant more, but I'm not doing it. I'm letting myself be me. It is being a YouTuber like myself is a masterclass in learning to quiet the noise and just be yourself. Just be you and know that your audience will find you. This is the thing that I'm having to tell myself daily. All right, what else? Pav came out with a new video. I wish I had more time to watch everyone's videos. Pav, Harsh Reality, Birdie's videos, Pete Altieri from Murder Metal Mayhem. I don't know why I slaughter that all the time. Not all the time, but a lot. Even, Nika Neuro Nuggets, Lana Truth and Transparency. I don't watch her stuff much, but I wish I had more hours in the day. I am busier today being retired and doing YouTube full time than I was working at my other jobs. I am so much busier constantly. My wife even says, "You're constantly working." Yes, I'm constantly working. In fact, pretty soon I'm going to get off here and start packing for my trip down to Boise because I'm constantly working. All right, I'm looking for a last beefy comment to end the show on. So I don't really have anything I'm going to highlight because there's no comment that's better than any other comment. You guys have great comments. This is the end of my show for today. Let me remind you once again, if somebody could paste the link one more time to my Discord channel for others, that would be fantastic. Paste it in the comments, and then I'll pin it up on the screen as well. That would be fantastic. Jeff, so there you go. Here's my last thought. Jeff, with my love-hate relationship, because Jeff likes to bust my balls on this channel, but Jeff has earned himself a special place in my heart nonetheless. Jeff, what do I expect tomorrow from the hearing? What I expect tomorrow is a long, long day of sobbing, crying, and people telling Bryan Kohberger to rot in hell, and that he's a horrible human being, and that he got off too easy, that he gets to live the rest of his life when their family didn't get to live out the rest of their lives, and how an injustice it is. I put it at a likelihood of about 30% that someone is going to get disruptive in the courtroom and there's going to be a spectacle. Somebody is going to come after somebody. Most likely somebody might try to jump the bar to go after Bryan Kohberger. I expect that that's a very high probability, or some drama on the courtroom steps. I put that at about a 30% thing. My job as a human being under that courtroom is to lay low. I don't plan on going in there and saying, "Hey everybody, I'm from Devil's Advocates and I don't know that Bryan Kohberger did it." I'm just going to shut my effing mouth and I'm going to observe, and I'm going to tweet with you guys, if you will want to call it that, on my Discord channel, what's going on every second, what I'm thinking every second. But I got to keep my eyes on the prize as well. So I don't want to tweet and miss something while my face is buried in my phone. So I got to strike that balance. So I expect it to be a long, long day, emotional day. I don't expect Bryan Kohberger to say anything. It is possible at the end he will be given a chance to address the families. And if he does, that will be the shocker moment that we've all waited for. If at the end, Bryan Kohberger is given a chance to, if he wants to say something, and he does, that will be the stunner moment of that entire day. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. I don't believe that they'll probably even offer him the opportunity to talk. He will probably be quiet the entire time. He's probably told them he's not going to give a statement no matter what. So that's what I expect is going to be the case. All right. There you go. That's the end of it. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm doing no more lives until at least Thursday at noon. And that's if, by the way, I've heard a rumor, there's a possibility that the sentencing will be pushed to 2 days because they want to give the families time to say their piece. And if one family gets up there and rants for 4 hours and there's 4 other families that haven't even had a chance to start talking, they might push sentencing to 2 straight days. If that happens, I'm going to probably stay in Boise for a second day, and I will not be doing my Thursday live, and it may even impact my Pete Altieri show Thursday evening. Other than that, expect me next Thursday evening with Pete Altieri, Murder Metal Mayhem, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and tune in early so you can catch the little treat that Pete Altieri have queued up for you. Thank you so much. Pay attention to my show. Like, subscribe, follow notifications if you dig this. If you're not sure and you're kind of on the fence, give me a try. Give me a try. I've found a lot of people are saying, I didn't like you when I first heard you, but you're growing on me. So hopefully I'm one of those guys. Hopefully I grow on you. Have a great day. Take it easy. Be safe. I'm going to try to stay low if the bullets start flying in the courtroom. Actually, bullets shouldn't fly in the courtroom because they pretty much screen all that shit out. It's the courthouse steps I got to be worried about. But I'll be keeping a low profile. Check it out. Watch for this shirt in the courtroom if you want to see if I made it just for shits and giggles, and do a shout out. Talk to you guys later.